Hello everybody! I am here with my October plan with me and I am so excited to show you all. I decided to go with this witchy theme in honor of the spooktacular season. I'm really proud of how this turned out, especially because I feel like hands are just so hard to draw and make look right. I know it's a bit doodle heavy, but I've just been feeling really inspired and creative with my bullet journal recently, which is so refreshing, especially since you all know that I did take a short break. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy, and let's just jump right into the video. Starting off with the cover page, I drew this witchy hand holding a tarot card. Like I mentioned, I've always had trouble drawing hands. They always end up looking like fat mittens, so I googled some reference pictures. I literally just searched for like witchy hands and a bunch of drawings popped up, and I think a lot of them are like tattoo ideas. For the tarot card, I wanted to give it a Halloween vibe, so I doodled a pumpkin with a little spider and some bats. I just went with some really easy doodles, but they still turned out cute. In the corners, I added some stars, and for the borders, I just made this scalloped pattern on the sides, and then just threw in some dotted lines at the top and the bottom. And then I added a little parchment banner at the top where I wrote out October. To fill in some empty space, I added a bunch of twinkling stars with dots using a Micron black pen and my Pilot G2 gold metallic pen. And hopefully you can see, but in the background, I made the stardust float in kind of like a wavy-ish pattern. Now for my colors, I used a golden yellow for the jewelry and for some of the tarot card details. And then I used 3 different purple shades, a very light lilac, a rich jewel toned purple, and a super dark, almost black purple. Next, for the calendar spread, I made these boxes 6 by 6 squares each. Then I created another parchment banner at the top where I wrote out October over it. And using the same font style, I wrote out the first letter to the days of the week above the calendar with some little crystal doodles in between each letter. Off to the right, I had some room to include my monthly to-do list, and I drew a hanging glass bottle holding a crystal above it. If you couldn't tell from my September theme, I've been really into adding a bunch of twinkling stars to the background. I think they're so pretty and they fill in the empty space without being too overwhelming. This part of the calendar was inspired by AmandaRachLee, so for each date, I drew the moon phase behind it. I thought it looked super cute and it went well with this witchy theme. When there was too much black, I switched to my Sakura white jelly pen to write the numbers on instead. Then for a little pop of color, I used the pale lilac marker and filled in the crystals and striped my to-do list, and I used the golden yellow to fill in the banner. Now moving on to my mood tracker, I used the Pilot gold pen to write out mood at the top in the same serif font, and then I used my Micron 01 pen to doodle in these 2 tattooed witchy hands holding a crystal ball. I know I did not section them off super evenly, but it's so hard, especially when there's an uneven amount of days, so please just bear with me here. Then I added a bunch of stars around the page, and in the middle of the crystal ball I also included a little moth outline as well. At the bottom, to show off my mood colors, I drew in these 4 crystal balls, and I'll be using the purple markers and a black to show my moods. Since the mood tracker was so doodly, I stuck with a really simple layout for my habit tracker so it wouldn't look too busy. So at the top, I added this fun quote that matched with the theme that says, "Do the universe a favor, don't hide your magic." Then I just used the lilac marker and filled in the calendar shapes for all 4 of my habits. Again, I threw in a bunch of stars around the page, and then I decided to stripe the calendar shapes so it would be easier for me to distinguish each day. For the next spread, I wanted to include a brain dump page, and I thought it would be fun to make it look similar to a Ouija board, so I made a border similar to what I used in the tarot card, and at the top I drew a sun and a moon next to each other, sitting on top of a cloud. On the sides, I wrote out yes and no, and then I started to add in little details to the sun and moon. The faces might look complicated, but it was actually much easier than I thought it would be, and it turned out better than expected. In the middle of the page, I doodled a planchette and I filled it in with black. I don't think I waited long enough for the black to dry because I had to add a couple layers of the white and gold pen, and they still didn't show up as nicely as I wanted them to. So if you decide to try this design out, I recommend waiting a bit longer before writing on top of the black. Finishing off the page, I just used the lilac to color in the crescent moon and the golden yellow to fill in the sun and the stars in the border, as well as to add a thin line to the border as well. Now I know I mentioned this in my last video, but I became obsessed with this Dutch door method, so I'm doing it again here. First, you want to make sure you lay out each week for the month just so you know how many pages you need to use. On the first weekly page, I counted in 11 squares from the edge of the page and drew a borderline. Then I doodled a tarot card at the top. I have to be honest, I am not super familiar with all the tarot cards and their meanings, so I just made my own design for the sun card. I tried to keep it simple by using the same border I've been using, except at the bottom I left some space to write out the name of the card. And for the design, I doodled a sun shining above a cluster of roses. Then I just copied whatever Google had said for the meaning of the sun card, as well as the meaning when it's read upright or reversed. To color in the card, I just used the golden yellow and the lilac markers, and for the roses, I added a couple of layers to the petals so they looked a little darker than the stems. Next, you want to go to the very last weekly page and mirror the same process. I made a border 11 squares in from the edge, and this time I drew the moon card at the bottom. I used a more simple star shape this time, and I drew a crescent moon above a cute cat because you all know I love my cats so much. Again, I wrote out the meaning and the upright and reverse readings for the moon card, and I used the same golden, yellow, and lilac markers to color it in. Then I went back and started filling out each weekly log. I used my Tombow Fudonosuke brush pen to make these large black circles, and then I wrote out the dates using the Pilot Gold pen, placing the numbers on top of these circles. I also drew a borderline for each writing section, and I had some space to add a note section at the bottom of all of the weeks except for the last week. Afterwards, I just took the pages in between the first and last weekly spreads, and counting 11 squares in, I cut the strips of paper off, so now both doodles are visible as you turn each weekly page. And that's it for my October plan with me. I am so in love with how everything turned out this month, and I hope y'all like it too. If you decide to recreate any of these spreads, please tag me on Instagram at AFZXX3. I would really love to see them. I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Have a happy Halloween, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!